the same, alongside Honorable Joash Mangi, Deputy Governor, that is Kisii County. Good to have you, Mheshimiwa, after quite a while, and I'm glad you're here. And we're also expecting Honorable Speaker for Nyeri County, that is John Kagushia, who will be joining us in a few. And so before we get to the conversation, it is only fair that we all look at what the newspaper speaks of this particular morning. So much so, well, away from matters politics, I think it's also good that we look at some of these crucial things that are of importance. First, International Women's Day. We have done well.
We are trying. We need to do much better. The women are still missing.
You know, I keep asking myself why. Why should we speak of a scenario where we say that we are trying up until today? I mean, the few years that I've been in the media industry, we've always been talking about empowering the girl child. We've always been talking about, you know, pushing the women out there. Why is it taking so long?
We're empowering them, Linda. When you go to the institutions of learning, the academies, you go to the colleges, you go to the universities, the numbers are there, they're impressive, the girls are taking over, they're taking the place by storms.
Yes.
But the deals are made at night, after work. That is when the men meet, in the taverns, when they meet in the salons, when they meet in the public houses. That is where the deals are made and the horses are traded. At that time, our mothers, our sisters are at home.
They're taking care of the family. The few who've managed to find their ways there, in most cases, are labeled. As you know, I remember the other time we were having a conversation, and there was a leader who was speaking of girlfriends and, you know, of these people and all that. And so the few who've tried to get themselves there are still looked at as individuals that are not worth.
I think by that there you really mean in the political there.
Yeah,
there are many other theirs in the professions.
Yes.
They are there and they are respected. They're there in the academies, they are respected. They are here like yourself, and we respect you.
Thank you.
And some very many others. Those who go into the political spaces should not be deterred, and they should take there some merit instead of trying to behave like the men that they find there. You saw what happened in Matungu, Kapchai over the weekend, and it was difficult to tell the difference between the men and the women. I was reminded of George Orwell's closing chapter in Animal Farm, where he says the creatures outside looked through the window, and already it was becoming too late to tell the difference between the pigs and the men. They looked from pig to man and from man to pig, and there was no difference. So when the women get there, they should behave differently. They should bring some dignity, decorum, and a sense of responsibility to the political space.
You are in the political space, Mheshimiwa. You acknowledge that it's quite a tough ground. Why is it that it should be for the women to be the people or the persons who are bringing sanity, as opposed to, I mean, it being a level ground for everyone?
First and foremost, Linda, let me take this chance to appreciate all women in the world. Today is Women's International Day. And let me particularly appreciate the two most important women in my life. That is the mother of my children and my mother.
Thank you.
And I appreciate them. They have brought so much joy in my life, and I appreciate them. Let me answer your question this way. You've said, why is it that women are expected to bring sanity? Because if you look at history, it's the women, even the Bible, the women were supposed to be helpers of men. So when men go wrong, the women should help.
It should be. We should find the scenario. You know, we should come home and men are doing it right, and so we're just helping to make it even better, not to fix the wrongs that you have done.
When men make mistakes, when men in the political arena go haywire, the women should be there to help them.
Okay.
It is. It's. I think one of the scholars, my brother here is more scholarly than me. Who said, there's a scholar who said that when you educate, when you empower a man, you empower himself, you empower the man. But when you empower a woman, you empower the community. We have seen a great rise It's not true that women have not gone into places in Kenya. If you look at some of key CEOs, Kenya Breweries, quite a number of other senior CEOs in this country are women, and they're doing a wonderful job.
Right.
As my brother said, if you look at the political arena, some of the major political players are actually women. Look at Central. Now, Waiguru is playing a very significant role. She's a woman. Look at Homa Bay. Gladys Wanga, as my brother said, when you looked at them in Matungu, that was in my device between and Man and Gladys Wanga. So it's not true that women are not playing a significant role. My concern, and I say this with a tongue-in-cheek, is this 30% requirement. You know, affirmative action, like in the US, is limited to 5 to 10%. When you push it to 30%, my concern is that you make women lazy. Because they're guaranteed, they're like, hey, I don't have to work too hard, I can be nominated.
Okay.
But elections are supposed to be competitive. And when you have an election that is competitive, everybody, regardless of gender, will go for it.
Okay.
But if you reserve 30%, like now, if in the PPI scenario, we're going to have 360 MPs, is it 360 MPs or something? So 30% will be 160, or I think 180. So if you're going to be guaranteed that you're 180 slots to nominate women, what that means that they will make the women so reluctant to go for competitive politics that they will say they will sit back and wait to be nominated.
Right.
So while I don't oppose the 30% gender rule, I look at it very suspiciously because it's not empowering women, it's making them less.
All right.
Yes.
Is it making them less, or is it also taking the space of the men? The boy child cries foul that, you know, in this push to empowering the girl child, equally we tend to forget, or we cease discussing the importance of equally appreciating the boy child. Briefly, as we close on that.
Well, that space has been dominated by patriarchy.
Okay.
By men like Mheshimiwa here and myself. We remain dominant and deliberate. In my view, affirmative action must be taken.
Right.
Affirmative action just opens up an avenue for a limited period of time.
Yep.
After which it is expected that there is some level playing ground. Increasingly, we are going to be a value-based society. Never mind these teething problems that we are going through. In future, when my grandchildren are seated here, it will be a different society.
True.
And it's going to benefit from the kinds of efforts that we are making today. But you asked a very important question, which you may allow me to put in a footnote.
Sure.
That why should women be the ones to come and make the corrections? In social science, now that you have brought in the element of scholarship, we talk about the trope of motherhood.
Okay.
Yeah, the metaphor of motherhood, which represents life, which represents birth, and birth is something that goes with motherhood, and it's something that is very mysterious, something that a man like myself can only be puzzled about. Sometimes when I see a woman who is carrying a fetus, I get very puzzled. I look at her and wonder, is she one, or are they two, are they three? When she's leaving home, getting on the bus, is she wondering, saying, how are we going to get on this bus so that we are safe? As she goes through her ablutions, the kind of caution that she must make to ensure that she delivers. It's the same kind of caution that delivery of the society that we want, the social delivery, is going to depend very much on women, because they represent the finer areas of the human soul. And I think that's why they have been given that responsibility and the responsibility of longevity. You know, a man like this gentleman here and myself,
Yeah.
we can actually make 1,000 lives in 1 year. A woman can produce only one life.
Okay.
Or if she's very lucky, she can have what we call twins, triplets, or quadruplets.
Yeah.
But a man can produce thousands, some of them even millions, which means that they are dispensable.
Oh,
what,
yes.
What 1 million men
Can do.
one man could. Yeah.
Well, that's a good one to look at it. And yes, maybe I should be the person who's answering this on behalf of the women. Yes, there's so much that goes on in our minds when we're trying to, you know, when we are at that particular point. And so in that case, it is only fair that we celebrate the women out here. Yes, the speaker is here with us this morning, John Kagushia, Speaker, Nyeri County. Good to have you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Yes, we're celebrating the women.
Yeah, indeed.
Briefly.
Yeah, thank you. We celebrate women today, and as my colleagues have said, women have played a very key role in our country, and not only in this country, but also in the world. And I want to say that Africa has led the way in electing women who have had very serious impact in terms of political leadership, but not only in political leadership, but also in the corporate world. I can say that the Western world is actually doing catch-up with Africa on this one. We look at some of the African women presidents that we have had. We have had Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in Liberia. We've had Joyce Banda in Malawi. We've also had now Ethiopia, and have had a lady also who has been at the helm of leadership in the country. Even at the level of AU, we had a woman who was at the very top.
Yeah, Mini Zuma.
That is it, and we are doing well as Africa. If you look at Kenya again, the elected women again, we find that some of the areas now have been very key on giving women an opportunity to lead. If I look at where I am in the county assemblies, we already have had 5 women who are elected as speakers of county assemblies, except that one of them dropped by along the way. That is in Nairobi. But in Machakos, if you go to West Pokot, if you go to Vihiga, if you go to Homa Bay, you find that we had women in all those county assemblies. So we celebrate women because they give good leadership. And if you look at the way they are also able to balance the leadership at home and also the leadership at the workplace, and the work they do is really and truly something to celebrate. But again, we also have these other women who are not really in the corporate world. Some of them are in the countryside, and they work very hard from the day when the day begins up to the time we end the day. You find that a lot of them have actually become like the heads of their families because of some of the challenges that we have in our society and communities today. So we celebrate women in this International Women Day.
Yes, and I mean, in the papers, lots of good stories.
There's a lot that still remains to be done.
Right.
And we must go beyond tokenism.
Oh. Well, that's another one, a Pandora's box. We'll be having a conversation in regards to the same later on in the broadcast, well, alongside key, very prominent women right here. And so it's a conversation that you do not want to miss out on. Should be at around 8 all the way to 9 a.m. So we leave it at that. I mean, the papers have hugely captured very many interesting stories in regards to the women out there. An interesting one that I've loved also on how, you know, professionals are making career out of dowry negotiations. Well, when we talk dowry, at least in Africa, we know very well it's about the women. So marriages talks are no longer reserved for family members, but they are key people who have mastered the art and the skill. And in most cases, they come on board, they charge for the same. When they go there to negotiate, trust you me, as a mother, as a father, as parents, you know, the guardians tend to get something worth because they know how to play the art. We dropped that one. I mean, another one that speaks of, you know, women who've been on the forefront with dealing with COVID-19 right here in the country and so much. So matters education, I guess these are the key stories that we'll pick on, 3 about or thereabout, and then we get to the conversation of the day. It reveals teachers to get better salaries under CBC. Well, the same teachers for the longest of time have been against this, the CBC, because they say we are not ready. We do not know whether this is going to be looked at as a way of trying to, get them reverse their stand on this one, and what grade 4 test looks like. Actually, they start today, DG. I don't know what the situation is like in Kisii County and how the students, the teachers, the fraternity at large is getting to understand the CBC.
Linda, this CBC thing is a very interesting concept in education. Actually, nobody understands it yet.
Yeah.
But we're somehow hoping that it will work out. Sometimes I wonder what exactly led us into changing from the 844 system.
Okay.
Initially, when we changed from the 742 system, the argument at that time was that we needed to move into a more practical-oriented approach to education. But the education we moved away from was the most well-accepted British education system. And people who qualified from Kenya from high school would join any university in the world freely. Then we moved to 844 system, which was meant to be practical-oriented, and we've been doing well with it for some time now. And then all of a sudden, we moved away with the CPC curriculum-based,
competence-based
curriculum, which, if you ask me, I'm sorry, but it does not make sense at all.
Okay.
It's nothing, and I think somebody wanted to make money by changing textbooks. Somebody wanted to make history by changing the system.
All right.
We're here to see how it will work. When I speak to teachers in Kisii, a number of them tell me they do not understand what changed. They do not understand the new concept. But I tell you, if you speak to most educationists, they will tell you they do not understand it.
All right, hold it right there. We take a quick break and then we come back to at least get to hear what it is that the rest of the guests would feel about this particular one. I remember we've had this conversation with Barack before, and unless he changed his stand, he was one of the few people who argued that maybe this would be a good thing to transforming the situation on matters education in the country, especially the incorporation of understanding the skills, or getting the students to acquire skills that would be helpful, especially for the job market. And so after